The minority caucus in Parliament has strongly criticized the government for paying $2 million to a firm in Mauritius, Africa Investor Holdings Limited, for the Accra Sky Train Project without parliamentary and the requisite public procurement approvals. Now speaking to journalists in Parliament, the Minority Chief Whip Governor Abuja took a swipe at the government for what he described as reckless public expenditure and demanded an investigation into such losses. Citi News' Ni Ayikwinokain reports.
The proposed SkyTrain initiative in Accra provides for the development of 5 routes, 4 of which are comprised of radial routes that originate at the proposed SkyTrain terminal at the heart of Accra at a newly developed Kwame Nkrumah Circle, and 1 route that provides an intra-city commuter loop distribution service also emanating from Circle. The project envisages a total track length across all routes of 194 kilometers. Speaking to journalists on Monday, the Minority Chief Whip Governor Abuja took a swipe at the government for investing over $2 million into the project without the necessary parliamentary and public procurement approvals.
What was the reason for government to act in a way to give out $2 million? Who actually took the decision to pay this entity in Mauritius? Was Dr. Baumia, the chairman of the economic management team, they call him the strategist now, aware that without any recourse to Public Financial Management Act and Public Procurement Act, it was wrong for any government entity to pay that kind of amount? So who authorized the payment of the $2 million in terms of the so-called feasibility? And which normal decision maker pays out $2 million for a feasibility study before, as they put it, the project will determine whether the project is bankable? These things only happen when it's an organized crime, when people are careless, clueless, and reckless about public expenditure because they don't care. It only happens when there's organized crime. So I think the minimum the Editor General should be asking for is a refund of the $2 million.
Governor Abuja also expressed concern about the investment of over $20 million into the Accra City Pullman Hotel, which has not seen any work yet on site.
The government insisted and doled out a huge tax waiver to Pullman hotels at the airport. We are now told on their website that government has also invested another over $20 million in terms of equity into that project. You go to the site today, there's nothing happening on the site for close to 2 years. And the question is, which individuals make the decision to invest in these kinds of things when we don't have money?
He also called for transparency and investigations into the government's policy of distributing laptops to students of senior high schools and TVETs.
Why is government shrouding every procurement process in such a level of secrecy? How much does one of the tablets cost? Who is the supplier? What are the credentials of this supplier who is supposed to supply over 1.2 billion cedis worth of tablets to schools? In which country in the world does textbooks exist only on tablets? When we encourage young people to learn how to read books, carry books and read as well, who is going to own these tablets? Are the tablets, when given to the student, going to remain properties of the student? What about communities, including some communities in my constituency, where you cannot get telephone connectivity? How would they be able to service this? How would they be able to get the latest versions of the books and other things? Once again, government thinking of their own parochial interests, of thinking that they can influence SHS students during voting. So you can ignore basic schools, you can ignore universities, and basically say that we are giving tablets to, a secondary school student because they may be able to vote. And we think that the expenditure of 1.2 billion is a huge amount of money that can do something for this country. Parliament is going to institute the necessary motions to call for a probe into this act of the supply of the tablets, which details are shrouded or known to only the education minister and the government. because this is not the best way to run a transparent government.
He also revealed that government is indebted to the District Assembly's Common Fund to the tune of over 4 billion Ghana cedis, which he urged the government to ensure funds are released as soon as possible.
As we speak, government owes about 4 billion of these monies to the district assemblies. The question is, are the assemblies asking for government to go and borrow money to do anything? No. You and I have already paid the tax. The law says set aside 5% of what you have already collected from us and pay that to the assemblies so that assemblies can carry out the critical services that are required. We are told the finance minister will be in the house before on or by 25th of this month. It will be very helpful if the minister makes some releases to the Common Fund administration for onwards transmission to the various district assemblies before the budget. It will make the presentation much more meaningful.
The Deputy Ranking Member on the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament, Alhassan Suhini, also addressed the media accusing government of employing the services of a land guard in retrieving and protecting government's lands, contrary to the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act.
It is not only the ministry that contracts the services of this land guard, but also the Ghana Armed Forces and the police depend on the services of this land guard to protect lands that are under their care. And so if the Ghana Armed Forces and the police cannot protect their own lands and have to resort to the use of land guards, what is the faith of the common Ghanaian who wants to acquire land and is faced with the challenge of land guards? And what was again scandalous was the revelation by the chief director that this person that is engaged, actually has a setup that the state cannot compete with. A setup that the state cannot compete with. According to the chief director, he has his own media that ensures that whatever he does, rightly or wrongly, is not exposed for public scrutiny. He has his own members of the judiciary, and so he gets away with whatever law he may have broken in the process of retrieving and protecting land. He has his own security that he deploys on these lands when he retrieves them. And at the end of the day, he comes to sit down with the ministry and he informs the ministry of the cost that he has incurred. And the ministry compensates him by dashing out, some parcels of land from the whole that he has helped to retrieve. We think this is a promotion of lawlessness. We think that we must all be interested in ensuring that our laws are upheld, and we demand a full-scale investigation into this unholy alliance.
Reporting from Parliament, my name is Ni Aikwe Okain for Citi News.